So, except the video game industry, let's turn our view to the cultural institutions. So, although usually we don't consider museums as cultural industries because they are not for profit, but they provide foundations for the cultural industries. As Mr. Fielder has introduced the niche innovations, in fact, museums are the source of niche innovation for cultural industries. So it's quite important in culture industry, but it's not within it. So exactly opposite of the video game industry, museums are under quite difficult time. So this is the data collected by the ICOM, the International Council of Museums. In order to understand the situation, they launched a global survey between April 7th to the May 7th. So these figures show that until April, almost all museums around the world were closed. So although museums usually rely on funding, but we can see from the survey, at least more than 20% respondents have more than 25% average annual budget comes from tickets and retail. And another data from the table 2, we can see that the museums, they're concerned about their future. There are 12.8% of participants consider that their institutions may close. And close here is not for a short term, but may permanently closed. And around 30% believe that they may force to reduce their staff. And more than 80% believe they may reduce programs because of the crisis. But on the other hand, the restrictive measures led the museums to choose digital activities to communicate with audience. So as I highlight in the table 4, more than 15% of participants respond that all digital activities increased or started after the lockdown. And if you see the social media, almost 50% response said it was increased. The activity on social media was increased. So obviously museums are trying to find a new way to go through this difficult time. So as we can see, because of the COVID-19, in short term, museums need to face revenue and budget reduction. And on the other hand, they also need to increase activities on social media to make sure keep on communicate with audience. While furthermore, because we know one attribute of museum is a place that the collections are stored. So as staffs are isolated, or maybe work remotely, so the security level is lower than usual. So maybe you have heard from this news that on March 30 this year, so a thief stole Vincent van Gogh's Parsonage Garden at Nuenen from the Singelaren Museum in the Netherlands. So UNESCO also warned that the risk of security of collections as well. If we see from the short and medium term, no need to see museum will face a decrease in both public and private funding. And because of that, they have a limit budget to hold activities and events. And also museum staff will face lower wages and even layoff. But on the other hand, offering those digital service in this very special time may give them a new advertisement channel and more potential future visitors. So opportunities always come with challenges. Because of the crisis, we now further understand the importance of culture, as I mentioned before, because it is a means of making the society resilient. And as a cultural institution, the museum can therefore get more attention from society at the period of post-COVID-19. And moreover, with experience of digital activities, further emerging with information and communication technology to create more events and exhibitions, this could expand the potential market for them, like virtual museums, digital exhibitions. Also, the success of using previously digitized resource to attract people would encourage museums to use newest technology to digitize collections and thus further help conservation and restoration collections. So that's all of my presentation, and this is my reference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Han. And again, many thanks to all speakers.